So here's a few trades I've seen go down in my leagues this week. The first one, Joe Mixon for Devonta Freeman and Swift. So the Mixon owner, I guess he's thinking here, with Mixon hurt and probably not playing this week and on bye next week, he's going to need some running backs. And I think he got a decent haul for Mixon. He got Freeman and Swift. Mixon with the foot injury. We don't know when he's going to come back. And the Mixon owner, he's in last place, so he needed a change. He needed players now. Swift, he's a number 2 running back going forward, maybe even a low end on some weeks, and a guy who could give you 15 to 20 points a week. And Devonta Freeman, he's still a starter. He is questionable this week with the ankle injury after getting blown up last week in Philly, but I think he'll only be out a week if anything is Freeman. So it's a decent haul for Mixon. Maybe he could have waited out and got a little more for him. But Mixon, we don't know when he's coming back, and to be honest, he had 2 monster games this year, and that was about it for Mixon. So I think it's a decent haul for this guy. He needs players now. He's in last. He's trying to make one last run before the season's over, and he could have done worse for Mixon. And also in the trade, he's dropping Duke Johnson, but he's got no value. Duke Johnson's pretty much done nothing except 5-6 points a week on the Houston Texans. The next trade this week, Darren Waller for David Johnson. I like the trade for the guy getting Waller. He didn't give up that much, I think, in my opinion, in this trade. You would think Waller would command a better running back than David Johnson, who's 15 to 20 top running back this year, or at least David Johnson in a filler. So to get a top 4 tight end for David Johnson's a great move for this guy. And I don't know what this guy's thinking here, just asking for David Johnson. Maybe he was desperate. I don't know, or couldn't find another trade, but he's in lower seed 2 in the league. So he needed some running backs, I get it, but he didn't really offer Waller around the league. But this trade, I could see it possibly getting vetoed. We'll see how it goes as the rest of the week goes on. But yeah, getting Waller for David Johnson, that's adding like a number 2 receiver, but putting him at the tight end position, obviously, which makes him a number 1 tight end at that position. So a great trade for the guy getting Waller just for David Johnson. The third trade, Leonard Fournette for James White in Baltimore. I like the guy getting White in Baltimore in this deal. He's getting the top defense in fantasy football this year in Baltimore. He's also getting James White, who's got a similar role to Fournette, with being the third down back in New England, even though Fournette, he's getting his carries also. But Fournette's in a split with Ronald Jones. Fournette, he's missed a few weeks before coming back last week versus the Vegas Raiders. And Fournette, he could go down anytime. Like I said, Jones is there. He's going to be splitting, and they're not going to bench Jones. And Fournette, he's not going to get 20 carries a game anymore like he's in Jacksonville. To get a top defense and White, who plays a similar role in his offense like Fournette, that's a good haul to get for a guy who was pretty much droppable almost last week in Fournette. So a good deal getting White in Baltimore. And the last trade of the week that went down was Cole Beasley and DeAndre Swift for Mark Andrews. And I like that trade a lot, actually, for the guy getting Swift and Beasley. He's getting a number 2 running back and a flex to number 2 receiver in Cole Beasley, who's emerged over the last 3 weeks and a Josh Allen favorite in that Buffalo Bill offense. So right there, that's the type of trade you want to get, and that's a trade we should have saw Darren Waller get traded for, like a David Johnson and a Beasley or something. So the guy getting Swift and Beasley, he's making out like a bandit, I think, in this deal. Mark Andrews, yes, he's a top 5 tight end, but he's had his weeks where he's getting 4 or 5 points a few times this year. And with Lamar Jackson, there's some games he's going to run a lot, and some games where he'll target Andrews. But Andrews, he's not that guaranteed every week 15 to 20 points, where I think Swift, he's almost at that 10 to 15 guarantee every week, plus having those blow-up games of 20 to 30. And Beasley, we've seen him now the last few weeks put up at least 15 plus fantasy points. So this is a great trade. The guy's in ninth, but he's trading Andrews off and getting 2 solid players that he's starting this week in his lineup. trade that went down in my league, I actually made it. I traded Mike Davis and Adrian Peterson for Rob Gronkowski. I have Richard Rodgers as my tight end, and obviously he's a 1 week rental because then they got the bye, and Dallas Goedert will come back, so Rodgers won't be used. My thinking into this trade was, this is it for Mike Davis, his last week. I still have Ronald Jones and Dalvin Cook in there, and my flex is Hollywood Brown, so I might as well sell Davis off for something. And at tight end, I needed to upgrade, so I'm getting the Gronk, who's had 2 big games the last few weeks. And this is the type of trade I tell you guys. You sell off these guys that are not going to play after this week, like him and Hunt, who's not going to get as much carries, but Hunt will still play. But Davis, McCaffrey's coming back next week. I had to get something for him. I wrote him out to the end, Davis. He played well, but I'm just not going to have him this week. But it's all right. I get Jones in there, and I got Cook as my other starter. And this is what you got to do. Sell him before he was going to sit on my bench and do nothing. And as for Peterson, he was on my drop list. So Peterson was just a throw-in to make him do the deal for good. So Gronk, he's going to be good for me, I think. He's coming off 2 great games. He's got a plus matchup this week versus the Giants. I needed help at tight end. I'm 4-3, so I'm on the brink. Davis, he did his job for me, like I said, but now he's not going to play anymore. Who are you kidding? Matt Rule saying Davis and McCaffrey are going to split or whatever. That's not going to be the case. He'll be a change of pace back here and there. So I think this is a trade I like to do, and I did it to get Gronk, and I upgrade my lineup now, and I still have Jones. I got Hollywood Brown. I got good receivers on the bench, so that trade I think I made out good. And the second trade is a keeper trade. James Conner and a 16th for A.J. Green and a 5th. And to be honest, the Conner owner, I think he panicked. He didn't know if anything else would be out there or a better offer, but I think he could have done better than a 5th rounder. In this league, I've seen guys like Fournette last season go for a 2nd round pick, and Conner, I think he's better than Fournette, even the season Fournette put up last year. But to only get a 5th for him, that's a rip, in my opinion. You got to at least get a 3 or a 4. Conner, he's a 2nd or 3rd rounder in redrafts next year's, and you only get a 5th rounder for him. I don't like the way this guy operated. And once again, the guy getting Conner, he gets a little rip on this deal, and he's had his way this season with some of the trades I've seen him do. And once again, he pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and he's only giving up a 5th round pick next year for Conner, who I know he could even be a 1st rounder, the way he could finish with his volume and the type of offense he's in this year. So a good trade for the guy buying Conner. He only's got to give up a 5th, and now his backfield is going to be set with Conner back there. He needed the running back. He's got Kareem Hunt, who he's finished, and Derrick Henry. He's got 2 horses back there that could carry him from 3 and 4 and catapult him up into the standings. Now he's got Henry and Conner, a great trade for this guy, and he's only given up the 5th, like I said, and the other guy 2 and 5 panicking and just settling, I think, for this 5th round pick. So a bad trade from this guy trying to rebuild. He didn't do it right. He could have waited another week or two when he was 2-6 and 2-7, because 2 and 5, I'm still not giving up on the season, but clearly this manager did, and he just dumped Conner off, it looks like, for the first offer he got. So that's some trades I saw this week in my leagues.